Oh boy. I need to finish this so I can play Ys again. My wrist is starting to die. Kind of weird. It only does that once every single time it starts. All right, Miss Webb.
The hearings could end any day now. You mustn't waste any time in securing a way in.
I want to discuss the Animancy hearings at the palace.
What of them?
Wouldn't they allow a guest of Dunrid Row into the hearings?
We would only do that as a last resort. Walking in with one of the 3 invited groups puts you in a position of influence. Walking in alone as a representative of Dunreed Row would earn you distrust among all the rest. It seems our organization has a reputation for nosiness and manipulation for whatever reason.
She glances to one side.
It would be best if people did not see Dunreed Row's hand in this. Easier for them to embrace the truth.
What is there to know about the Duke?
Avar are as many things to many people, and that is why he sits the throne. To the frontiersmen, he is one of their own. To the patriotic, he is a sole descendant of Admeth Hadrit. To the nobility, he is from an old and established family. All of these are half-truths or exaggerations, a tale he has spun around himself. The man behind the tale may not be the greatest mind in Dyrwood, but he knows people. He knows when they are sincere and when they lie. He knows when they are strong and when they are weak. The other matters he leaves to me. Outwardly, he prefers to come off a bit of a simpleton. Don't be fooled. Before he was a duke, he was a trapper, and an excellent one at that.
Oh well. Right, I guess we head to the hearings. Unless we have something else to do first. And there is one thing we could do. Start off kind of soft. There is something over here we haven't looked into, really. They did mention something about the lighthouse earlier. Great day this turned out to be.
Gods keep you.
An old man paces the dock and looks out over the water. He is fussing over something large and round, which he constantly shifts from one hand to the other. You're not certain whether his wide-eyed, gape-mouthed expression marks surprise or fear. He seems he isn't either. You, don't look like a guard. He examines you, and your equipment more closely. Say, you wouldn't be interested in making some coppers, would you? He shows you the object in his hand. It's a large, round opal with Ingwithan runes carved into it. It glistens with his sweat. See, the ship that went down over there. I've been looking for someone to help me recover some missing cargo. Tell me about this missing cargo. He licks his lips. We started in Cold Morn, and we're making our way down the river, loading and unloading. And unloading as we went. Business as usual. What exactly happened? He massages the opal in a clammy palm. When we reached Aina's Rest, we may have agreed to take on a few crates from some place called Cleaban Relay. A couple of the lads snuck a peek at the cargo, saw suits of armor and a broken scepter. He shrugs. Don't know why anyone would want a broken anything, but these animancers will buy dirty stockings if you say they came from the ruins. He closes his hand around the opal in a white-knuckled grip. We were almost to Defiance Bay when the screaming started. I've seen my share of barroom brawls, but this sounded different. I was topside with the captain, but he and the first mate went below decks to see what all the commotion was about. When they didn't come back, I looked into the hold. He shudders. I saw one of those suits of armor walking around all by itself. It was covered in blood. When it saw me, it started running for the hatch, so I closed it. He squeezes his eyes shut. So how did the ship get here? He rolls the stone between his hands. I'm just a deckhand, but I was the only one left. I piloted the ship as best I could, but I hit rocks as we were passing Brackenbury. I barely made it to Andra's Gift before I had to jump overboard and swim for the docks. I had given up on the cargo, not to mention the payday, when one of the lads pulled this up in his nets. He shows you the opal again. It's part of that scepter. From what I recall, there were only 3 other pieces, and I'd bet you anything there's somewhere in the shallows too. If anyone could find them, there'd be profit to follow. What happens if I find the rest? You find the missing pieces of the artifact, then I've got an animancer friend from my expedition days, who'll find you a stack of coppers. He scratches his beard. All I want out of this is a few 100 pans for my lost payday. If that sounds fair to you, I'll give you this stone and the name of my contract once you have everything else. Immortal regards the opal again. Seeing as the kid dredged this stone up in his net, I'd wagered you could probably find the missing pieces out in the shallows during low tide. Immortal gazes over the water. Anything else you need? About that Anguithan relic. Do you have any idea what your animancer friend wants with this relic? He was always tinkering with these things back when we were young. I used to think she was the fool, retiring to some dusty study in Brackenbury. But after that horror on the boat, I think she made the wiser choice. Mautel doesn't sound like a Derwooden name. Well, you should know, shouldn't you? From your accent, I take it you're from the Exomital Plains too. They're just another kind of ocean when you think about it. Places where you can stand and see nothing on the horizon but the wind making waves in the grass. He watches the surf lapping against the wrecked boat. And perhaps this is the gods' way of saying that people like us should never have taken to the water. How's business? He spits into the water. I'll be glad to sail with captains who are more careful about their cargo from now on. I don't give a worm's wings about the Duke's trafficking laws, but I'm too old to fight ancient horrors. He takes a deep breath of the salty air. I just want to enjoy my twilight years doing an honest day's work. So true, dude.
Place gets my blood beating in all the right places.
So horny, dude. Captain won't be happy to hear about this. This young lanky sailor is wringing his cap anxiously, sweat bending on his furrowed brow. His eyes widen as you approach, and he takes a few steps forward.
Greetings.
Say, you're the one they're talking about, right? The one helping people. I could use some help as it happens. Please. What's the problem? Oh, thank you. They weren't lying, saying you're a kind-hearted sort. He runs a hand through his hair nervously. It's the captain, or rather not the captain himself, but his chest, his sea chest. He keeps all his valuables in there, tucked away safe. I was unloading it with the rest of the things. what with us staying in port a couple of days, and he coughs. I may have gotten a little distracted. Marceno nods towards the buildings nearby. I wasn't gone long, just an hour at the salty mast. When I got back, the chest was gone. He sets a pleading look on you. It really hasn't been that long. Whoever took it can't be too far. But the shift's changed, and I'm on watch. I can't sneak off to look for it, and the captain will kill me if he hears of it. I'll get strung up on the yardarm. Please, if you could get it back for me, I swear by the flame I'll make it worth your while. You can have my pay. I won't be spending it if Captain Fortunero finds out anyway.
God's keep.
If you've a moment, you're not from around here, right? You don't look like you're from the docks. He looks around nervously. I could use your help. Any ideas where the thieves might have taken the chest? Well, the chest itself is pretty heavy. Nobody I've asked has seen it getting carried around either. I figure they must have snuck it off somewhere nearby, just out of sight. Can't have gone far. There's a pretty good lock on it too, so I'm hoping they haven't got it open. Unless they take an axe to it, I suppose. Oh gods. He takes a breath. If they've got it open, I really am done for. What makes you think I'm not from around here? Gut feeling? The sailor grins weakly. I really could use your help though. You're a sailor? Yes, sir. I signed on about half a year back. The pay's decent and the sight of the sun coming up over the sea. I wouldn't give that up for anything. He sighs. I just wish I'd asked around about the captain first.
Absolutely.
What can it be? There's another named person over here. Now hiring builders, no experience needed. As you approach, she eagerly turns to you. You're interested in doing some construction work. Her clothes are simple but nicer than most you've seen in Andra's gift. Pays good money. I take it you're having trouble finding workers. Workers who aren't superstitious cowards, anyway. She shakes her head. I offer good coin, but as soon as I tell them about the job, they say an oath to the Lady of Lament and spit over the dock. They all think the lighthouse is haunted, ever since the floods of Andra's gift. Sagani looks up at the tower. I suppose that's one downside to these big city buildings. No spirit ever haunted a hut on the tundra. Andra's gift was flooded? Back at the end of the War of Defiance, it was one of the finishing blows to the Adiran military. Cost us a lot though. The whole district was supposed to be evacuated, but not everyone left in time. The Adirans put anyone they found to the sword. The lucky ones who escaped the slaughter drowned hours later, when Hadrit's forces broke the dams. Locals say the lighthouse keeper was one of the people who stayed behind, and one of the last to die. She shrugs. I don't know why that makes the lighthouse any more haunted than the rest of the gift, but there you have it. That won't stop me. Good. About time someone put an end to this foolishness. She rummages in her pocket and pulls out a skeleton key. As she hands it to you, she hesitates. Just be careful. Not that I believe the ghost stories, but it's an old building, so watch your step. Alright. Hey fellas, you stole a chest? You steal the chest? Oh. That's just a bunch of harassers.
Of all the things I've gotten used to, food was the hardest adjustment.
I quite agree. Deer wouldn't oversalt everything and drown it in sauce.
And they burn out all the flavor. Nothing like a raw deer flank.
So true. Shove off, we got nothing to talk about. Riddle, okay.
A touch of Margren's fire should settle spirits here.
What's screaming? What did it say? When targeting an attack, the percentage listed next to potential targets indicates your chance of scoring a hit or crit. If the chance is low, consider attacking a different defense or using afflictions to increase your odds. Yeah.
Eyes open.
It's done.
Whoa! It's a lot of shades.
Hey.
They're kind of weak to fire, but... yeah, let's use fire. It's the best spell. There, right there. And we have one shadow in front of us. Good. Didn't want to waste my spell on that guy. I'm screaming. Explosive death. A little bit of damage.
Be cautious. Be constant.
A patina of filth and dead barnacles reaches almost to the ceiling. The glass is completely opaque with grime and salt. Boost!
Thing isn't doing this.
100% chance to hit. 100% chance to hit. The burlap sacks have all but rotten away. The wood of these barrels and crates is swollen and warped, as if by water.
Eyes.
Boost! A lot of assholes you've got around you. That one's almost dead. Yep. He's dead.
I'm here.
Mead. The compounds and fluids in these bottles have separated into distinct layers. Yellowed fading maps of the bay around Andra's Skift show routes through the locks between the dikes that hold the ocean back. Selected correspondences of Giftbringer Iden. That looks cringe. The notice is stiff with age and salt. Adiron reinforcements are advancing. Adiron reinforcements advancing. Immediate evacuation of Andra's Skift by order of Duke Hadrid.
I'm here.
Carved into the posts is the name Merwith and a series of notches. Labeled with numbers. The lowest notch reads 4 and the highest notch reads 17. Shrieking sobs pierce your ears and rattle the musty rafters of the lighthouse. They emanate from the spectral figure of a woman hovering in the middle of the room. Each heave of her shoulders unleashes another hair-raising wail. Back away. Logbook. The logbook expels a thick plume of dust. 6 Phonaton, 2672. Foggy, portful, 158 days since sighting the Red Dream. 12 Phonaton, 2672. Heavy rain. 2 fishing boats lost at sea. 164 days since sighting the Red Dream. 1 Taraton, 2672. Dark clouds. Adiron ships on horizon. 173 days since sighting the Red Dream.
Let's see this stubborn bastard.
Jack of Wide Waters. +2 survival. What I wanted to see is, do we have anything here? This is terrible though. Like trying to find a potion or some food that does like one thing here. It's just a nightmare. But let's see if we can craft something instead. Might be easier to see it that way. That's a no. +3 might. +5 endurance. Perception. I want +2 perception. I might be able to do it. It depends on how it stacks. But I can get 1 perception from here. And I can also get 1 perception from... there's +3 perception. Bring some blast on.
Yes?
Go, 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 go. Yeah. Okay, so now I don't get it anymore. That kind of makes me upset. Blast on.
I'm here.
Shrieking sobs pierce your ears and rattle the musty rafters of the lighthouse. They emanate from the spectral figure of a woman, hovering in the middle of the room. Each heave of her shoulders unleashes another hair-raising wail. Perception 18. Observe the Caingula. You're close enough to notice that the spirit's head is tilted back. Even as it looses blood-curdling howls, the faint movements of its head suggest that it's looking toward the windows and scanning the horizon. The Caingula's ghostly hands are stained with something dark. At first you think it's blood, but it's as black as ink. Okay, that help me.
It's done.
Laying low.
Over the 5 years following his ascension to Gref, Admeth attempted to mend relations with the Glanfathans and bring his land together with theirs. He enacted laws that restricted the taking of new slaves, allowed Glanfathan to buy their fellows out of bondage, and imposed a tax on slave ownership in order to promote the use of free labor. While there was some resistance to these new laws, the Verkoning's attention to Red Ceres and Admeth's power, backed by the colonists, made it difficult for the earls to truly resist what was happening. In 2662 AI, in the year of the 10th anniversary of the War of Black Trees, Admeth brought about the end to slavery in the Durwood. He negotiated a series of treaties with the Glanfathans, wherein a timeline was established for the official emancipation of all remaining slaves. Each owner would receive compensation in either land or money based on the number of slaves freed. If they didn't comply, the slaves would be seized, and their former masters would suffer a substantial fine. In return for this, the Glanfathans opened trade routes with the Durwood, and allowed Durwoodans to live in and near areas that had their sacred ruins, but they are under no condition to enter the ruins. As a final act of goodwill, Admeth freed Galvan Regd, saying he had suffered sufficiently for his actions. The Verkoning, seeing he was completely out of control in his own Palatinate, devised a plan to get the supply of ancient artifacts running again. He approached the earls, suffering under Admeth's rule, and convinced them to hire agents to raid the ruins. Initially they did so in secret, but they quickly became sloppy, eventually being caught. This breach of the treaties incited Glanfathans again to act of violence, while Admeth researched who was behind it. With the help of the Glanfathan leaders, Admeth found evidence that pointed back to the Forkönig as the source of the raids. That was the beginning of the end for Edirun rule in the Durwood. Over the next 7 years, Admeth and the Forkönig maneuvered around each other, playing political, economic and military games in order to gain the upper hand. In 2668 AI, Admeth declared the Durwood had had enough. The Forkönig would no longer be recognized. The Durwood was now a free entity and would govern itself. This started the War of Defiance, which lasted 5 years. The end result of the war was freedom for the Dyrwood, and though Duke Hadret would never live to see it come to a close, the people of Dyrwood consider him the founder of the country nevertheless. Aura of Stealth. Okay. Well, not much more to do here then, other than punch her in the head. Get closer. As you approach, the spirit's cries take on a threatening edge. The swirling mist around its legs ripples with movement. The black pits of its eyes level momentarily with yours. Observe. You're close enough to notice that the spirit's head is tilted back, even as it loses blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know. It's got like ink hands. So fucking what? Gives a shit. Maybe we can go back down and talk to the lady.
Hail, traveler.
So, have you figured out what all the fuss is about? I have some questions. What do you want to know? Do you know what might be inside the lighthouse? If only, Naya shrugs. It's been uninhabited since they flooded Andra's gift. What are you building? An inn, allegedly. She brushes a single loose strand of her bun behind her ear. The gift needs a spot with a little more class than the salty mast. This district has been in the dumps since the War of Defiance. It seemed ready for some fresh development. So imagine my excitement when I find this place, 3 floors tall and right on the water, for sale at a reasonable price. The sellers suggested that there were other interested buyers, so I closed the deal before I'd taken time to really look into it. Stupid. She shakes her head. Being from New Heomar, I knew about the floods, but I didn't know about the superstitions surrounding the lighthouse. And the seller was long gone by the time I found out. At this point, it'll be a miracle for the Lady of Lament herself if I make my investment back. It sounds really unlikely that the state lets you buy the only lighthouse in town. That does not sound that does not sound reasonable. Tell me about the flooding of Andra's gift. Hadret ordered it near the end of the War of Defiance. It was one of the finishing blows to the Eduran military. Cost us a lot though. The whole district was supposed to be evacuated, but not everyone left in time. Yeah, well, you already told me that. You're not from Defiance Bay, are you? She laughs bitterly. What gave it away? The accent, or the fact that I was the dupe who paid good coin for this place? I am from New Heomar, on the northern coast. It's smaller than Defiance Bay, so I came here hoping for some fresh opportunities, and maybe the chance to do a little good in this neighborhood.
You fought for the Dyrwood in the Saints' War?
We better grab a couple pints before you get me going on that one.
No complaints here.
Like, it feels like you're supposed to be able to do something else, but from what was happening there, it just felt like it was gonna lead to me killing her, and that was it. I mean, I could do that. Don't really mind, but it doesn't feel felt bad. Didn't feel right that it was that hard to do whatever they wanted me to do. So is there supposed to be like a tide here? In Andr's gift? 4 people stand gathered around what appears to be a wooden chest. One of them, a grizzled and rough-looking character, looks up at you, then sneers. Took a wrong turn somewhere, did ya? Best turn around and walk on. There's a sudden snapping sound from the direction of the chest, and a second smaller man lets out a frustrated groan. Damn it, that's the second lockpick. He looks up at you and stills. Oh. Walder rolls his eyes and then turns to you. You've walked down your last pier. Are you sure?
This thing is doing the job.
Plonk. Surrounded by scattered planks, it isn't clear whether this skiff has been half-built and abandoned or cannibalized for lumber. So the only way to find out, I guess, is if we go in here and rest and see if the tide rises when it's night, or what that's all about. I don't understand how tides work.
How do you do?
Like day and night being different is the only way I can think of this being done, really. Doesn't seem... Yeah, it's lower now. It's lower. Animat?
Slowly now.
Oh yeah. That was what they found down there. That's a lot of animats though. Holy shit.
What?
$20 damage reduction. Okay. These need crushing.
Stand together.
Very easy. Engwithan Scepter's Spike. Barnacles encrust the hull of this beached boat. Something, the jagged outer fingers most likely, has clawed deep rifts in the wood. Whoever tried to sail through them must have been desperate or inexperienced. There. Mud squelches underfoot. Crabs scuttle out of the debris. A young boy's corpse lies at your feet, half covered in dirt and seaweed. His hands have stiffened around a dagger. A soul lingers nearby, something confused and lost in the seaside fog. Reach toward the soul. As you reach for the soul, it lashes out. Glowing mist strikes at the air around you. The soul can't touch you, but you feel it burn with a feeble, uncontrolled rage. It's okay. I'm here to help you. The soul flickers. It ripples toward you, timidly at first as it swirls around you and you experience wonder, fear, and the joy of running between the ships at noon. With a jolt, it pulls you into the streets around the salty mast. Women with painted faces weave between men, stumbling in and out of the lamplight. Father's gone in for a drink, just like always. He said he'd only be a few minutes, but it's been hours. The man guarding the door only laughed when you tried to explain this. There's always a back door, in an alley. 2 men have cornered a woman. Her cheeks are streaked with tears. She's backed against the wall and looking away. They're inching closer. You step forward. The men barely acknowledge you, but the woman looks at you, a plea in her eyes. You've seen that look in abused strays, in your hollow-born sister, that time father took her from the splintering cradle and to the filled wash basin. You were brave that day. A knife is in the thug's belt. It's in your hands, and now it's in his thigh. You're small and fast, but not fast enough. Fingers bite into your arm, and a muddy boot sails towards your face. Then everything is muffled by cold, brackish water. The soul retreats from you. It pulses with a question. You did a brave thing. The gods will reward you in the next life. Darren's soul absorbs this thought and ebbs in the ocean mists around the dock. A young boy's corpse lies at your feet, half covered in dirt and seaweed. His hands have stiffened around a dagger. A soul lingers nearby, something confused and lost in the seaside fog. Take the dagger. The boy's small hands are rigid in death, but you pry the dagger free. It looks too large and too expensive to have belonged to him. The letter B is carved into the pommel. I wonder if that's what we needed. Because it has to be something like that, like she's looking out to the other side of the map. You have to go somewhere. Pick something up. How far can you go here?
Morgwyn's fire casts light in dark places.
Within Scepter Base. Immune. Almost immune. Piercing. Muscles cling to the bricks and planks, their shells sharp enough to cut flesh. Oh. Okay. Within scepter's shaft. Now, can you go in here? Seems like a yes.
What's this, Itamak?
3 pearls. Nice.
Good day to you.
I have the 3 pieces. His bristled eyebrows rise to a peak. You mean you got past those armored monsters? I don't know how. He shakes his head. Listen, if you're willing, I'll give you this last piece. He holds up the opal, and the name of someone who'll buy it all. All I want is 200 pans for getting the cargo here. Sound fair? We've got a deal. He accepts your money and gives you the opal. It's still warm in his hands. You'll want to go to the Brackenberry Sanitarium and find Nance. She'll know more about this artifact, and I know for a fact she's bought them from our crew before. Anything else you need? Nah, dude. Alright, let's see if she wants this dagger, otherwise we stab her in the face. Get closer. Observe. Get closer. Get closer. Observe. There's black ink. Rage boils through the ghostly figure. It rushes forward. Its jaws blah 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 blah. Fuck you. Crap quest. Picked up everything, talked to everybody, still nothing.
What?
Come on, stop dying. Yeah. How did I get 23 in one shot? Well, I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's weird.
Doing the job.
I'm here.
Welcome.
There was a spirit upstairs, but I got rid of it. You mean it was true? She gapes. The place really was haunted. I was sure those laborers were just trying to drive my price up. At least I can finally start building. Here, take this. For your help. And stop by sometime. I've got big plans for this place. Alright. Welcome.
Well met, friend.
Arseno fidgets nervously. He grins hopefully at you. Any luck finding the captain's chest?
At once.
What do you mean not yet? It's obviously that one. It's so obviously that one. Did I need to click on it or something? It said... Oh man. It said it was locked, so I just didn't do anything with it. This sea chest bears a large embossed sigil of a ship and the word Fortunero beneath it in gilded letters. It is held shut by a heavy brass padlock. Take the sea chest. There we go. Nothing new to report. Okay. I don't really know where to go looking for the ingredients you need for upgrading your armor either. I feel like I need to find a shop for it. Maybe it's in the copper lane.
How do you do?
Here are your contents. You did it! I mean, I knew you would, but... Oh, thank you, it's all here. You've saved my life, friend, truly. I owe you one. Here, the week's wages, like I promised. No need for that. Do keep it. Really? Then thank you again for all you've done. At least take this. I picked it up while we were in port in Edir as a good luck charm. But I want you to have it. I won't forget this. Drinking Horn of Moderation. Nice. Level up. I want more lore. Detonate. Oh, not a lot of choice. Marksman. That's +5. Or we finally get... is it Ruffian? Pistol, yeah. +6 accuracy on the Pistola. I kind of want to go to the dwarf smith and see if he can fix that scepter before I go to the sanitarium. Hello, Atreus Ninja. Am I winning? I think so. kind of overleveled now, so... Oh yeah, we had another level on this lad. There, now he gets +2 damage reduction. Bonus knockdown, weapon mastery, ruffian. Sure, get more damage. Just finishing up a little bit of side quests now before progressing. Hello? Okay, nope, he doesn't want to do anything with it. But I mean, there's no point in having them at all. Pieces, so we gotta go to the sanitarium and see if she can put the scepter together. But I won't use the scepter anyway, because I already have the scepter on. He's the only one who used the scepters, and that one is OP and it's already finished. Adir is not very intimidating with that helmet. He always ends up wearing that helmet and it always looks so stupid.
Sir, you've been on your own for 5 years.
I've had Ijima.
But you can't talk to him.
My standards changed around year 2.
Were we supposed to talk to here? It's not her. It's not Modred.
Let's see this stubborn bastard. It's done.
Yeah, nothing there. Maybe she's upstairs? I'm not sure I managed to unlock the chests here.
I've got this. It's done.
Ravenwing, unique one-handed mace. Nobody uses
I've
that.
got this. It's done.
Light Golan, light armor, breakup. Minus stun duration, minus knockdown duration, more defense when stunned, more defense when prone. Alright. So she's gotta be upstairs then. Otherwise she doesn't exist.
Well met, friend.
Are you the Animancer who's been buying relics from Immortal? Who? I don't have time to barter with adventurers if that's what this is about. I mean, he gave me the name. It was like Nila. Was she the one who was outside, who we killed? Or is she just standing around up here? Nouns, that's...
Greetings.
An elderly woman peruses the shelves with a quickness and an energy that belie her age. I am afraid I don't practice anymore, child. Too busy with my research. Immortal sent me. He said you'd be interested in these scepter pieces we found. Then chatty old fishwife's been blabbing about me, I see. She laughs and rolls her eyes. Never trust your secrets to a man with so much salt in his beard. Anyway, let's see what you've got. Nance examines the scepter, her eyes hooded by crinkled flesh. Immortal told you true. I'll buy this. Unfortunately, a broken scepter isn't as valuable as he may have led you to believe. She steals a glance at your face, but her fingers tighten around the piece in her hands. Nonsense, this could easily be repaired by someone with the proper skills. Her eyes flash under their sagging lids. I've got the skills, all right, and you know more than the average relic hunter I see. Making it whole again is a matter of alchemy, expensive alchemy. I've got to soak the broken ends in a fiend's blood compound to reconnect them. Never mind the embalming work to restore the enchantments. She eyes you. I could do it to the tune of 1,800 pans. I'm giving you a rare opportunity to work with an Ingwithan scepter. Surely you can bring the price down. Aye. Perhaps if you want to bargain and haggle with every Dragonblood vendor and imp-horn merchant in the city. She puffs her sagging cheeks. Very well, you can have the satisfaction of working an old woman to an early grave with only 1,500. Alright. I'll expect you'll want to watch and see that your money is put to good use. Better get comfortable then. She lays out an array of powders, potions, and other obscure ingredients on her desk. After what feels like an hour, she returns to the main hall with you and presents the scepter. Looking at it, you'd never know it had been broken in the first place. This may be the finest work I've ever done, if I may say so, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. Examining a piece like that is a dream come true for someone in my field. She gazes at it wistfully. Take good care of it. Ingwithan Scepter. It's not even unique. Are you serious? It's not unique. It doesn't have anything special to it. It's just fine and has 20% attack speed. Okay, I guess it does have speed then. Alright, fine. It's got speed. But speed is... Hold on. Google Pillars of Eternity attack speed. It is separate from reload speed. I really want to know. Let's see. Every action consists of 2 minimum phases, attack and recovery. Blah 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 blah. Weapon extremely slow. Low light. Attack phase duration. It might come as a surprise, but not a single attack speed, buff, talent, enchant, or modal does affect this phase. Duration of this phase is affected only by your dexterity modifier. So your dexterity changes how fast you attack in your attack phase. Only. Recovery phase duration is affected by armor penalties and all the buffs, items, and enchants that do state that they do affect attack speed. These effects can be grouped in several major categories, namely armor speed factor, attack speed multiplier, rate of fire multiplier. And for non-spells, i.e. auto attacks, primary attacks, and foot attacks, the following are also factored in. Melee attack speed multiplier, melee only. Ranged attack speed multiplier, ranged only. Single one-hand weapon recovery factor plus single weapon speed factor. Okay. So attack speed does affect your recovery. That is good to know. Because otherwise attack speed is useless. However, it's kind of interesting because I had assumed it was useless for the recovery. Like it didn't affect the recovery, but it would affect the attack speed, but it was the complete opposite. +1 intellect on you. You can have the copper trash ring. Didn't I find something? We found some cloak or something. No. Oh, there it is. Aura of stealth, perception +3. I would put it on me, but I already have a stat thing. I like putting the stat stuff on my main character. Oh, I see. It doesn't stack there. But this one is useless. So then we can put that on. And now we have 20 perception. You can only get bonuses from one item. It's, I mean, pretty obvious, right? But intellect +2. Think anyone really cares about 2 intellect or resolve? Yeah, the stats are kind of weak anyway. The only real good part about the stats is that they stack with other buffs, so. They're really not that impactful. Especially not when you just get them from items. It's just like a nice thing.
What is it like not to
I'm
see
here.
your children for so long? I imagine it must be difficult.
Even in Masuk, I'm on the hunt more than at home. But 5 years... It's been a strain.
Then to your good fortune. Ado Vidorio. May you see them all again soon.
Alright. Okay. Grieving Mother traveled and inquired all over the Eastern Reach to track down the missing monks. One by one, the monks came across Grieving Mother's path in a variety of forms. Some kith, some beasts, some in unique forms. Having apparently forgotten why they had set out on their meditation, the monks engaged Grieving Mother in a protracted series of philosophical conversations. Ultimately, each monk traveled back through the mental labyrinth they had created, triggering a spontaneous realization and subsequent molting back into their original form. When they all had returned to their monastery, they presented Grieving Mother with a chime. Each monk had donated one of the chime's 12 bells to the final instrument. 12 uses. Invisible, immune to engagement, untargetable, break engagements for 6 seconds, useless. Burst fires. is. Let's see if I'm smart enough to argue. We need to go to the Crucible Knights. They have to invite me. I kind of hate how synced they always end up. Feels like I'm playing a JRPG with your party members following you, all walking synced.
I'm here.
He smiles warmly. What may I do for you? I understand that the Crucible Knights are attending the Animancy hearings at the palace.
Indeed. Duke Avar looks to the knights for prudent counsel as well as defense. I suspect our future as a city and a nation will depend in no small part on how we handle this matter.
What do you think about Animancy? Despite what happened with the Forge Knights, Animancy merits further study in other contexts. There is much yet that Animancers could do to cure soul maladies, strengthen essence, perhaps even ameliorate the effects of the legacy. He scratches his chin. We won't know until we try, and we can't afford to sit on our hands while our rivals watch us grow weak. Tell me about the hearings. He gives you a gruff frown. They're progressing slower than I'd like. The dozens raise a ruckus whenever anyone so much as mentions Animancy, and the Dominals are obfuscating any matters on purpose. Nevertheless, I'm confident Avar will see reason eventually. I need an audience with Duke Avar. I'd like to attend the hearing. And we'll be glad to have you with us. Avar will no doubt find your presence persuasive, and we need all possible support to see that it gives Animancy a fair chance. Indeed. Was there something else I can do for you? No. Level up. Bonus 4th level spell? I kind of feel like that's all they get now. They just get bonus spells.
I'm here.
There aren't really that many feats and talents to take. Maybe something will pop in later when we become like super high level, but I don't think so. Not in this game. Maybe in 2. There's a little bit more. Looking for news? No. Only people with official invitation are allowed to observe the Animancy hearings. Yes, that's me, stupid retard. Let me in. Let me in! You may not enter the audience chamber while council is in session without an invitation. I have one! Oh, we need to go back to Dunrid Row. Oh. Oh. Oh my god. No. This is the healthiest way to sit in the chair.
How fares your search?
If I'm going to do this for you, I think it's time you told me everything about Theos.
I've told you everything you need to know.
But not everything.
It's only right that you know everything. When I was younger, before Dunreed Row, I had many suitors. These were fine-looking men of good stock. But I could see their thoughts, and they were unimpressive. Boys' thoughts. I toyed with their affections. I resented all of them. And then I met a man whose mind was a mystery to me. But he understood me. He knew me at a glance, told me things I didn't know about myself. He was neither handsome nor charming.
There are plenty that are super OP.
I ever wanted.
The bite is OP. It doesn't really. I didn't take it because I hate the bite, but the bite is OP. It's super OP. Because it's only at -5. It's an extra attack. You always get an extra attack. You're already raging, so you get like +8 strength. You already have your +8 strength belt on you, so you got like 48 strength. So the bite still does like 30 damage. Plus it's an extra attack. I think, and because you have a bite, I think you can take feats and stuff to get a free trip attempt on the bite. I'm not sure, or if that's only dogs. So you might have a character that can always bite, always, and always trip. But I'm not sure. I don't remember the feats, but there's plenty that are really strong. Yeah, for you. For now. I don't remember what they're like. I know that there are really good ones. Or maybe there's like 3 good ones or like whatever when you're playing without the mods, because they didn't put anything into the game. We're talking about Theos.
We made game of my gift. He would ask me about people, and I would tell him what they were thinking. Sometimes the information was very sensitive. And then one day he asked me if I trusted him. I said I did. Next I knew I was donning a silver mask and swearing oaths to Woodica. Using my gift for the leaden key still felt like a game to me, so I did it. I did it because it pleased him.
I think Beast Totem is good. But it didn't last. Well... no, because you're using weapons. Claw attacks don't work if you're using weapons. You have to be unarmed, or they do nothing. But it didn't last.
I don't like living in the dark. It's a powerless, hopeless feeling. Every day I did things without knowing their purpose. Every day I loved a man without knowing his thoughts of me. I sensed that there were things he wanted to tell me. I sensed that he knew everything the leaden key was created to hide. But Theos was unyielding.
The claw thing, I feel like that's kind of if you're playing a monk and you also want to multi-class into barbarian, and you can pick that to like boost your monk, but that's about it.
One day I disappeared without a word. He would kill me for it, and I knew that. It's their rule. I just wanted to see him plunge the knife, because then I would know. But the day never came. He has left me to wonder.
Yeah, I don't like it. Like, it doesn't feel good thematically either. That's why I don't like doing it. But almost all characters can just take one monk class, for example. If you have a wisdom character, you can just take monk and you just get more AC because you get the wisdom bonus onto your armor. And I think if you're playing charisma, you can pick the scaled fist or something like that, and then you just get charisma to AC as well. So it's just super OP. And there are things like that people do, and people told me to do it all the time, and I was like, no, this is just boring. There's an alchemist subclass called vivisectionist that gives you like mutations and potions and stuff that you can drink for free like every day, and they just give you like +4 strength. Like, okay, I guess it's just not fun though. It also gives you sneak attack.
I have devoted my years to learning everything I could about him, in hopes I would find some clue as to who he really was, and why he felt he had to keep his secrets locked away. I have precious little to show for it. Just an old woman nagged by old thoughts. And that is truly everything I can tell you about Theos. I hope you will accept this embarrassing story as a show of my good faith.
I want to discuss the Animancy hearings at the palace.
What of them?
The Knights of the Crucible have accepted me into their delegation.
Good. Avar Wolfgren looks to the Crucible Knights as a voice of reason and order. Speaking from their section should lend you credibility with him. You need waste no more time here. Get to the palace. Make your case to the Duke. With him on our side, all of Deerwood can be mobilized against the Leaden Key, and Theos can be rooted out. I only wish I could be there to see it. There is a very old bottle of a very good brandy that I have been saving for a special day. If you hurry back afterward, there may be a little left for you. Off with you. You're going to do very well in there.
Finally. Critical focus. Everybody gets +5% of hits converted to crits. I kind of want to pop Arms Bearer on her and the deer.
I'm here.
Arbalest. What does she have? She has Knight, right? Soldier. Arbalest Arquebus. Maybe I give her the Arbalest. Just so we have our Arquebus over. Or left over. No, I don't think so. Like Adair, he's gonna use a pistol. The Arbalest does not have DR reduction as well. It just does way less damage There's nothing that competes with the arquebus. +2 survival, recovery speed -20. Terrible.
At once.
Yeah. I'm a little bit skeptical. I don't... If there's one thing that I actually don't like in this game, it's the itemization. It's just because it doesn't feel like anything is worth equipping. Except for like gloves and helmets and stuff. Because they just give you like +2 stats. Otherwise armors are like... I don't know. It just doesn't feel worth it swapping them out from their starting gear. We received word from Commander Cleaver that you would be attending, Robin. The balcony has been opened for you. The room below is animated amidst a heated debate. All the representative groups are easily discerned in the crowd. Crucible Knights, stiff in their noisy armor, sit in one section. In another are well-dressed members of House Dominel, casual, watching with a predator's interest. Still elsewhere are the ramshackle dozens, who have made no special effort to dress up for their liege lord. Interspersed are animancers in their academics' robes, with expressions either sour or concerned.
Well then, answer me this, Master Barash. If you animancers represent our best hope to cure the legacy, what progress can you demonstrate?
Ramir de Barask is originally from Palminia. He's one of the finest minds in animancy to come out of the Valian Republics. He left for Defiance Bay 5 years ago, because he believed this was the true heart of animancy research.
In Palladina's words, and the way she looks at her countrymen, you sense both pride and a mild sense of frustration.
As I've said, it isn't about progress, it's about potential.
My house would agree, Your Grace. We see great potential in its future.
And I suppose your blazing profits during the legacy don't have nothing to do with that, do they, Dominel? You can't have it both ways no more! Animancy goes, or this country goes!
So you admit, Master Barask, that animancy is no closer to stopping the legacy than it ever was?
No, we've had many promising experiments. Cadman Azo has shown...
Cadman Azo murdered a child. For a complete failure. We should be hanging him right now for what he done. The dozens won't stand for it.
There is no need. Master Azo recently passed the Shroud, and while the experiment failed, his work
was sabotaged.
Ah, our new delegate from the Knights of the Crucible. What makes you say sabotage?
All at once the attendees turned their faces toward you, a mishmash of judgment and incredulity. Only the Duke, a wild-looking man with a scraggly beard, seems unfazed by your interruption. I met a false patient in Brackenbury Sanitarium who had tampered with Otzo's machinery.
The fuck's that even matter?
These are people who would toy with the lives of our children.
Indeed. Even assuming there was sabotage, is this Animancer Azo not still accountable here?
I've got Rational 2, and both of them are the same, except I can say that he should be innocent or guilty, because he was definitely not. Yeah. Yeah, he should be held guilty. Aloth whispers between gritted teeth. After the farce we saw at the sanitarium, I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. Look at what happened in Heritage Hill. Our supposed protectors from Crucible Keep can't even clean up the messes Animancy leaves.
Your Grace, we'd have a much easier time of it if our knights weren't so occupied trying to keep their organization from igniting a revolution on our very doorstep.
Heritage Hill is blood on your hands, Justicia. You turn a blind eye, and look what happens.
The Crucible Knights are blameless here. This was not the workings of Animancy, but an ancient device in Tyr Nuneth.
You've some strange taste in travels, friend. The height of your tales expands with every breath.
Look me in the eye and tell me I'm a liar, Your Grace.
I cannot. Not without risk of making a liar of myself.
The Duke stares hard into your eyes for what feels like ages.
Tell us what you saw in Heritage Hill.
Tyr Nuneth houses an Engwithan machine that holds dominion over the flow of souls. It was this machine that made the district undead.
Even if it is as you say, we have testimony that a group of Animancers had been spending time there. Surely their tinkering had something to do with this.
I have reason to believe that there were others at the tower who might have done this.
Animancy has many enemies. You need only look around this room to see it.
You're missing the point. Everywhere there's Animancers, there's disaster. We all know what Wydwin's legacy's really about. And it ain't about some sparkling saint from Creed Ceres who's mad because he took a stroll down the wrong bridge.
Ha! Wrong bridge indeed.
It's about a bunch of so-called intellectuals fucking with the natural order while the rest of us gotta suffer for it.
Is it, though? Should we not take the time to reach a clear conclusion? I mean, what proof do we have?
My son and daughter are buried beneath the floor of my house. We don't own no land, so that's where we lay them. My son. My wife let him slip when she was bathing him. Got water in his lungs he couldn't cough up. My daughter? We put her to bed one night, and the next morning she wasn't breathing. This Hollowborn thing, it ain't ending. And it ain't ending because we still let these charlatans play God. There's your proof, you damn copper fucker!
Enough, Adric. Lady Dominel makes a point. If it's Animancy, then why do the other states that permit the practice not suffer the same fate? Who among us can say he truly understands why the legacy has taken hold here?
I can. The crowd begins to mutter, the sound taking a doubtful character. Right idea, Watcher. Taking this hearing by the curly ones. Don't waste your chance. Well, I can't, because there's one option. Wydwin's legacy is the creation of the Leaden Key. Hedman Atzo's downfall was their work, as was the tower in Heritage Hill. They want you to do this. They want Animancy to fall. The dull muttering expands into a din of skepticism that fills the hall. I have seen them in the ruins of Air Glanfath, operating machines that disrupt and redirect the flow of souls, near towns like Gilded Vale and Durford, where the legacy is universal. As a watcher, I have heard their dead confess their plot. They are stealing the souls of the unborn.
Beasts. Another lunatic at the hearing. Did you remember to lock your sanitarium before you left, Master Barask?
You shame your order by dismissing the truth before hearing it, madam. I expected better from a knight of the Crucible.
You must know, friend, that the Leaden Key is a mantle for small-time ruffians and children at play. I'm not saying you're a liar. Not yet. But you'd better start making sense of all this. Help us believe you.
Honest 3, I don't have that. What's more likely? That the gods are destroying Durwood for a science practiced in many parts of the world, or that a group of people hates animancy and wants it suppressed.
Another guess! Throw him out on his ass, Your Grace! He's wasting our time!
Perception 15. Shall I tell you then of the robes these people wore? Of the runes inscribed in a dead language swearing an oath to Woodica to seal knowledge with a key of lead? Sound like children to you?
I don't know about all of this.
You've made an unexpected case, friend. I'll say that much. It seems we have a new possibility to consider, at the very least. How was it you came to learn all this?
Knights of the Crucible were instrumental in aiding my investigation? They didn't do anything! The only thing they did was let me into the district. That was the only thing they did. Otherwise, they did nothing. I took a personal matter in the interest in the matter and tried to learn what I could.
Indeed. This land is foreign to you, unless I miss my guess. Your efforts on its behalf are to be commended. But these hearings are about more than Widewind's legacy, even though that is our most pressing concern. Let's say for the moment that I were to take you at your word that our friends in Brackenbury Sanitarium and their peers bear no responsibility for this curse upon my country. I'm curious, what would you do if you were in my position?
Animancy should be studied in Durwood. If you don't, someone else will, and they will wield great power over you. Her face is still. Palagina looks your way and subtly nods in approval. Aloth shakes his head. Animancers serve their own ambitions and their own purses. Giving them this power is like setting a child loose in an armory.
Very well. That is all I wish to hear. Not just from you, but from everyone. Many days we've been at this. It is time we put it to rest. I want to thank the delegations for helping me to collect my thoughts. In particular, I want to thank our new delegate, who has given me much to think about, and who alerted me to a new enemy I had failed to see. The time has come to choose a direction for the Deerwood. I am ready to make my pronouncement. Ramir D. Barash, representing the interests of Animancers in Deerwood. Step forward.
Your Grace,
He's a fella.
The arguments for and against animancy are both strong in their own way. I must be careful in my judgment.
Forgive me, Your Grace. We will accept no judgment but our own.
What's he doing?
No, wait!
Stop this at once!
I've given you every chance to end this pursuit. Shall I end it for you? Another time. I am already late.
Old man runs away. Why is... The words, "Shall I end it for you?" ring in your ears. You find yourself gasping for breath, struggling to keep your own balance. You drop to a knee and watch as Theos hurries out of the building. The world dims around you, the screams and clashing of weapons, fading to silence. All that remains are the words.
Shall I end it for you?
Theos stands at a pulpit high above an assembly of robed onlookers, you among them, clustered around a wide circular pit carved of stone. He addresses a woman bound backward over a large iron wheel, overlooking the great stone mall. Many of the woman's fingers and toes are severed, and the bottoms of her feet are charred black. The skin on one side of her face looks like melted candle wax, black and red and seeping, and the angle of her back suggests a spine in ruins. Yet for all that, her expression betrays little of her anguish.
I am already at peace, Grand Inquisitor. Are you?
Her eyes are barely open and her words come between strangled breaths, but they are steady, unbroken.
So be it. If you desire no end, you shall have none. I find you guilty of heresy. May the eternal prison bar your soul from passage, for it is beyond redemption.
He nods to a hooded attendant who begins untying her from the wheel. Robin was granted dominion of the sleepers. You open your eyes to the beamed ceiling of the palace's grand entry hall. The clangs of metal striking metal waft in from outside, alongside the cries of the injured as you stagger to your feet. Theos is gone. Edir leans in, his head upside down in your sight as he peers down at you from above. Hey, you're alive. He looks you over, frowning. Can you move? We shouldn't stick around. When dear woodens get stirred up, they like to start burning things. Off to one side, you can hear the clinking rustle of chainmail, and you look over to see a wounded guard slumped against the wall. He is trying to say something. Seemingly directed at you, but at first it's too faint to hear. He gathers his breath and manages to grasp out a few words. Lady Webb, she must be told. She'll know what to do. Please, find her. Tell her everything. The guard passes out and slides to the floor, still.
At once.
Oh no! It's burning! It wasn't wrong, they just started burning everything. Seen him at the sanitarium! Get him! No, don't get him! We're just ignoring everything. These lot are in league with the Animancers! Take back our city! Oh, whatever. Not joining in, it seems. Botanical garden. Sure.
Yes?
Random boots. A lot of dead people. Got her. Lady Webb lies still in her bed, an ornate cushion propping her back upright. The blood pooled beneath a gash in her chest is tacky and nearly dry. A shattered glass rests on the floor beneath her dangling hand. You can feel the faint aura of her fading essence in your ken. Reach out for it. You make contact and are immersed in a torrent of sensory input and experience. When it calms, you find yourself in the same room, lying in bed with a glass of brandy in your hand. Through the walls from the streets outside come the sounds of screams and shattering glass, and the cacophony of an angry mob. You take a sip, and it warms your gullet. Across the room, the door opens behind a patient's steady push. Into the room walks Theos, the floorboards creaking beneath deliberate steps. You wait until the last of the brandy has trickled down your throat before you speak. I was a fool
to think I could tame these people.
You came closer than most.
A fine epitaph.
No worse than any.
You are concentrating, focusing with all your energy. It feels as though you are diving into a stone wall over and over. But it cracks suddenly, unexpectedly, allowing the vaguest wisp of a thought to leak through.
What's in Twin Elms?
Did you pull that from my thoughts?
I've had time to practice.
Ah.
He walks over to a small table and raises a half-empty brandy bottle to eye level. He seems to approve of the selection and begins to reach for an empty glass.
I was saving that for someone.
Pity. You know this is how it has to be.
He replaces the brandy bottle on the table, with care, before approaching the bedside. He sits on the edge of the bed next to you. His words come freely, absent of all doubt. He draws a long, curved knife from his belt, smeared with fresh blood. With his left hand, he greatly pins your sternum as he raises the knife in the other, its point dangling above your heart.
Prove it.
Theos slips the knife between your ribs and pushes it through. Layers of tissue separate with brittle, papery stiffness, and blood wells up around the blade. A pulse of reflex causes you to drop your glass to the floor, and you hear it shatter. With the last of your strength, you take his knife hand in both of yours, a question radiant in your mind. For an instant, to your great surprise, the pathway to his mind is left open to you, unguarded, and the answer comes, simple, cataclysmic in its reordering of your thoughts. As Lady Webb, you feel as though you have an answer you've searched for all your life. But in your own mind, her understanding lies just beyond your reach. You look at Theos with the wide eyes of someone seeing for the first time, and draw your last breath as a black, velvety darkness descends over you.
Smoke rises above the city walls in billowing plumes that blacken the sky like a storm. Behind the walls, the riots rage on. Known patrons of Animancy are forced into hiding as looters ransack their estates and make off with their possessions. Animancers are torn away from their families and dragged from their homes to be stoned to death in the streets. Word had spread immediately that Duke Avar had been assassinated, and that an Animancer was to blame. The city wasted little time in exacting revenge, and little effort into evaluating guilt. In the center of it all, Brackenberry Sanitarium burned.
We're back?
And down the lane, Hodred House, the last bastion of stability in the Deerwood, had fallen silent. Now safely outside the city gate, your path points eastward to Twin Elms, where Theos is bound, for reasons that remain mysterious as the Leaden Key itself.
I slept bad, it's over. I feel like shit today. My wrist hurts. As you cross the bridge, Aloth draws up beside you. And he sneezes. Bless you, Aloth. The fires of Defiance Bay casts a shivering, flickering light across one half of his face. The other is in darkness.
Please stop. I need to tell you something.
Go ahead.
I have not been entirely honest about my motives for traveling with you up to this point. When I finished my training in Adir, I was introduced to an organization. All I knew was that they were opposed to the unchecked spread of animancy, and that they could guarantee me postings far away from the Seathwood my father and his Earl. At that time, it was enough.
Wonder if it's time? Yeah, it's time for fucking flu season, because it's winter.
In the early years, I thought of them as many things. Hooded men, prudent teachers, the Leaden Key. Their rules were strict, but their guidance was clear. I sincerely believe they wanted to keep Kith from the folly of their own foolish ambitions. I came to the Deerwood a little over a year ago. My orders were to gather information on animancy in the region.
We'll find out. But if it does, then it's gonna be another COVID thing, and then they're gonna shut everyone down again.
A senior contact met with me every few months to receive my reports and issue new leads. She sent me to Gilded Vale to keep an eye on events surrounding the local lord, but I lost track of her shortly after that. I don't know if she was reassigned, killed, or sacrificed the way you saw. At the time you met me, I'd been on my own for a couple of months.
You knew I was coming.
I couldn't have. I'd been out of contact with my superiors for months. I needed some kind of direction. And after that scrape with the locals, I was ready to get out of town. But then you mentioned that you'd survived that Beowick, and I thought you might be able to put me back on the Leaden Key's trail. And I was correct in a way. What we found wasn't what I expected. I knew the Leaden Key was trying to stop animancy, but I didn't realize how far they'd gone. Murder, sabotage, abandoning entire districts to shambling horrors. Now the whole city is up in flames. I'm still not sure about animancy, but I know I've been following the wrong master. Please, accept my apology, and my service. Let me fight with you to stop Theos.
And what do you really expect us to do with this too-late confession? Trust you on your word?
Palagina shakes her feathered head and holds her hands out toward Aloth, as though framing him in her view. With all your supposed extra senses, you let this happen. How like a watcher to miss what's right in front of his eyes because he's too busy dancing in the ether. The corners of Rajan Sagani's eyes crinkle. A team can't survive without trust. All the same, I think he means it, Rob. I still feel kinda attached, even with the betrayal. He's got his way of taking offense that I really like. Tough one. I don't care. Apology accepted.
Thank you. This is a great burden off my shoulders.
His voice is solemn and quiet. Let's go. It's honestly like a complete non-issue. He's just like... He's been with us from the start. It hasn't mattered at all. Like, there's been like no... He didn't betray us at all. He was just like, oh, sorry, I'd like joined this random cult for like 3 seconds. Like, okay, I don't care. So... travel to Twin Elms. Do we go and do the White March now? Let's go do White March. White March. Your party is considered high level for the content in White March. If you would like, the critical path can be increased in difficulty to give you more of a challenge. The rewards you receive will be the same regardless of the option you choose. Your choice cannot be changed once it has been selected. Okay. I mean, this means nothing to me. Sure, make it hard. This is gonna ruin it.
You set out for Stalwart. The White March rises up in the distance, stretching to the north and south as far as the eye can see. It beckons to you with peaks like broken fingers. The road thins to a tattered ribbon, and the shadow of the mountains falls across your path. You've barely begun your climb when the darkening sky pummels you with hailstones and turns the ground beneath you to ice. You press on. The air grows thin, and the treacherous mountain passes funnel screeching winds past your ears. A blizzard forces you to make camp for 3 days, huddling for safety while snow piles around your refuge. At last the weather clears, and you approach Stalwart under a crisp blue sky. There's a noise, high and sharp, coming from the village that sounds at first like another frozen gale. But when you top the rise and reach the village's wooden gates, you see what lies beyond them.
It's Darzyr, with a whole pack of them!
We can take these bastards!
Did I level up just by walking here? Hireling payday? You took all my money. It's got a fucking cannon. Well, we can try detonate. A lot more damage. Still doesn't do that much damage for how much. Like, I'm not sure. I think you get more focus from attacks the higher level you are, but I can't tell if that is the case. Because it doesn't really say anywhere, I think. Torrent of Flame. We don't really have much we can pick here. All kind of suck. Bonus 4th level spell. Yep. Kadir wants to have a chat, but I think it's a little bad timing right now. These smelters haven't seen use in a long time. Oh, I've never done this before. I don't know what's wrong with my neighbor's dog. I think they've ruined her, to be honest. Because when she was a puppy, they just left her at home alone. That was their way of like training her to be home alone. And while she was home alone, she was just barking constantly the entire time. And her owners, her owner just thought that was like how you teach a dog to be alone, by just abandoning it. Much. She would just sit outside for 3 hours straight. on her phone, or just like visit someone, and the dog would just be home barking constantly, all day, because she was training it to be home alone. And now, I think it has like nerve problems because she's barking all the time, and even when they're home, and it's just like random barks, like one bark, 5 minutes later, one bark, 5 minutes later, one bark. But when they're gone, it's constant.
I'd be glad to.
And the way they try to make her stop is just by screaming at the top of their lungs. A winter wolf. Hello. She's a dog trainer, by the way.
I'm here.
I don't know where we're heading. This door appears to be barred from the inside. Does not budge. Stalwart fishery.
Slowly now.
Everything here is so easy. I was gonna like start switching to my ranged weapons and stuff, but even now that it's hard, it's a bit too easy. Okay.
Ready, Watcher.
They have no damage reduction or anything. I do still think this is trash DLC, purely because it's a side quest. You just can't tell when you're supposed to do it. Like, okay, I'm too high level. When was I supposed to do it? You just don't know. Like, instantly when you get it, you're just supposed to go and do it. It doesn't matter how well written it is, because it's still a bad DLC just because of the way it works and the way they made it. It makes no sense. You don't design content like this.
Be on seat.
No, just make another game. Honestly, if you're gonna make a DLC like this, make another game. I don't care if you use the same fucking engine, just make another game. This DLC, it's just like a full story, from what I gather, but it's just a side quest, so it has nothing to do with the main story. So it's like, okay, why am I going here? Why am I doing this? Like, there's no reason for me to be here. Kill the big guy first. And damage reduction, we should be good. This one is actually better. It's cheaper and the bonuses are much stronger.
I'm here.
Apparently I dominated him for half a second. By accident. I hate the kingdom management thing. Why? What happened? It's not a normal expansion DLC. That's not how normal expansion DLCs have ever worked prior to DLCs. Like, this is one of the first cases where this works like this. Where they started doing them like trash DLCs instead.
Yes?
I'm here.
This guy is very resistant. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it that much. I don't mind listening to this stuff and making choices in the throne room. But most of it doesn't do anything. It doesn't lead anywhere. Like building your building the buildings in the towns and whatever, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter. So it's kind of whatever. You're the one Renengild sent for. She'll want to speak with you. Her house is just up the way, next to the Graf's Rest. The messenger pants, waving smoke away from his face.
Katie's house is burning! Hurry! They're both in there! The hut's coming down!
I don't care, I'm looting. +3 resolve. Did I have a resolve item on me? Perception +3, resolve +2. Alright, we'll take the resolve +3 ring. Resolve +2.
Absolutely.
The roof of this hut is almost entirely enveloped in flames, lighting the snow in dark orange hues. Several beams have been reduced to ember-dotted husks. Through the hut's threshold you can see only billowing smoke. Fire roars as it climbs the timbers. The air feels thick and hot and the building is a maze of flame. Withstanding the smoke and navigating the fire will be a challenge. Now here's the question. Is this survival or is it athletics? I wish someone would tell me. I'm gonna send Sagani. Sagani leaps over the burning threshold, plunging out of sight behind a wall of smoke. Inside the house, fire has pitted the walls and beams, and a thick haze rolls through the building. It is hard to see even a few feet ahead, save for the occasional glimpse of glowing embers. Survival 5, crouch down to avoid the smoke. Sagani moves onward through the haze of heat and soot. The hut groans and shifts as the blaze grows. Above, a beam begins to sag, threatening to crash down into the corridor. From just ahead comes the faint sound of a voice calling for help. Perception 14. Run past. As the beam overhead finally gives way, Sagani sprints forward and into a graceful roll, avoiding the burning logs that come crashing down. Dexterity 10? Nice. Despite the smoke and flames, Sagani remains unharmed and unhindered for the moment. Pressing forward, Sagani comes at last to a wider room. To the left is a man, the source of the faint cries for help. He stands trapped behind a curtain of flame, arms raised to ward off the heat. It may be impossible to reach him without quenching the fires first. To the right, a woman lies unconscious beneath what appears to have once been the roof. She's small, but the rubble trapping her looks heavy. Smoke winds its way up and out into the open air, obscuring all sight of the outside. Stop and examine the situation to the left. Help! Please! Help me here! A man dressed in the haphazard armor of a local guard stands trapped at one side of the house. Fire has worked its way across the floorboards, blocking all escape. try to reach for the man through the flames. Sagani moves towards him, but the flames scald Sagani's arms. The man also tries to move towards Sagani, but the flames rise higher and block his path. Okay, I can't do anything. Great. Turn away to help the woman. Sagani approaches the other victim. The smoke has gotten thick. Sagani begins coughing but is able to press on. The woman is trapped beneath a considerable amount of rubble, including a heavy crossbeam. A purpling bruise on her temple suggests that she was struck as the debris fell. Use a pry bar to clear the rubble. Sagani sets the pry bar against a section of the crossbeam and, using every ounce of strength, strains to lift it clear. After a period of fruitless struggle, the beam finally begins to rise, by slow degrees. With one great and final effort, Sagani heaves the last of the rubble clear of the woman. Though still unconscious, the woman is free of the rubble and can now be moved. Carry the woman out. The woman is of a slight frame, and carrying her proves easier than freeing her from the rubble. Sagani hoists her carefully onto a shoulder. I can't help the man. Retreat to the exit. Beset by smoke-clogged air and burning debris, Sagani finds the ordeal taking its toll, but Sagani presses on, determined. Keeping a firm hold upon the unconscious woman, Sagani turns for the exit. Eyesight fouled by smoke, Sagani stumbles on the debris scattered underfoot. Sagani drops the woman, who lands on the floor with a loud thump. Pick her back up. Sagani bends to retrieve the woman once more, hefting her onto a shoulder. This time the effort saps considerably more energy. Sagani fights to remain unconscious, but exhaustion and lack of air do their work. Sagani is soon overwhelmed and collapses to the ground. Darkness descends. In the hazy state of unconsciousness that follows, the sound of shouting and the crash of burning timber drift in and out of hearing. Sagani wakes some time later to find Edir standing nearby, having dragged Sagani to safety.
They're gone. Both of them.
That was fucking garbage. I was sure that thing was coming down and taking your friend with it. I'm loading. The man wipes his brow and stares up at the collapsing house. Too bad about Lurgolder and Katie. His eyes widen as a section of the roof collapses. He looks away, shaking his head. You look like you could use a drink. Take this over to Hefrix and have one on me. He flips you a couple flat carved bones. Fuck you. When did we come in? The save is all the way back there. Alright, fine. We'll do the whole thing again. I'm that annoyed by that.
You set out for Stalwart.
It's Darzyr, with a whole pack of them!
We can take these bastards!
Him down, punch him in the head. Did this guy rage or something?
Stand together!
Look out! More of them by the fishery!
I'm here.
well, you're going down. That's for sure.
Yes?
Yes. We need help! This way!
This way!
They're dead, dude. Calm down. So I don't think there's anyone I could send that could actually help the guy. But Adair might be able to save the other one. Like maybe Aloth if I change his spellbook. He leveled up. I'll give him some survival so he can get through. There. So he needs chill fog. Apparently.
I'm here. Hey, I'm here.
Oh, stop! The silly dominate. That was sudden. Let's see, war leader. All the way over there. Can't really reach him. Dominated 11 seconds. Good enough. Oh, nope, she's down. Fireball. The main guy there. Fuck is Itumak? The other side of the world. Combinating the boss is always silly. Aloth keeps charming the enemies, and when they get charmed, they lose their, like, if I paralyze them for like 20 seconds, it gets turned off so that they can move again and do damage. You're the one Renningrove sent for. Yeah.
Katie's house is burning.
They...
Hurry, they're both in there. Help, the hut's coming down.
Alright. Send Aloth. Aloth leaps over the burning threshold, plunging out of sight behind a wall of smoke. Inside the house, fire has pitted the walls and beams, and a thick haze rolls through the building. It is hard to see even a few feet ahead, save for the occasional glimpse of glowing embers. Continue forward. The air is thick with acrid black smoke. Here, tears stream from Aloth's eyes, and it becomes difficult to walk as fatigue sets in. Constitution 9. Aloth moves onward, through a haze of heat and soot. The hut groans and shifts as the blaze grows. With a mighty groan, the burning beam comes crashing down. Caught off guard, Aloth is pinned beneath the heavy log. Push the beam away. Even reeling from the impact, Aloth is still able to heave the debris away with relative ease. Aloth gets back upright, a little winded from the ordeal. Might 10. Smoke clogs Aloth's lungs, and the heat has become unbearable. Aloth will collapse soon. Okay. To the left, cast the chill fog spell. Aloth concentrates on the sequence of words that will summon forth frost magic. Under the chilly onslaught, the fires subside, providing a narrow escape route for the guard. Gods bless you! I thought that was the end. Come on, we should both get clear of this place. He runs past Aloth, making a dash for the exit. Turn away to help the woman. So that's the best we can do.
The gods, he's alive.
I hate this event. I'm gonna try it again. I think the only one who can do this is Kana with survival. He's like the only character who can do this.
It's a wonder anybody stayed at all.
I can't, because you can't make a chill scroll. So you can't use that. And sending Idir is probably the best choice. Oh, he's got survival 5. Nice. Push the beam away. But now he can only do one thing here too. Stop and examine the situation to the right. The woman. Use a pry bar. Carry the woman out. Retreat to the exit. Idir clears the fallen beam with easy grace, avoiding the scattered embers and debris underfoot. Athletics 4. The smoke clouds Idir's vision and makes it difficult to breathe, but Idir staggers onward. Constitution 12. At least Idir comes to the door, rushing out of the blaze and into the mountain air.
Katie, thank the gods you saved her.
I was sure that thing was coming down and taking your friend with it. The man wipes his brow and stares up at the collapsing house. Least you got Katie out when you did. As for poor Lurgolder, his eyes widen as a section of the roof collapses. He looks away, shaking his head. You look like you could use a drink. Take this over to Hefrix and have one on me. He flips you a couple flat carved bones.
Certainly.
Okay.
Fresh fish, freshly caught.
Huh? You see a middle-aged woman and a younger man locked in an argument. Both wear clothes streaked with blood and dirt. The young man turns to the woman, a fresh cut visible below his eye.
They've destroyed the stockade, Mother. It's...
Enough. They're gone.
She holds up a hand which is missing the final joint of the ring finger. But it's her voice, sharp and steely, that silences the young man, as he glowers at his toes. She turns to you with dark circles under her eyes and a smile pulled taut across her thin lips.
The deliverer of Cadnua. Thank you for making the journey. Abidan knows it's a long one. Well, I'm sure you wagered on a more civilized welcome. Still, we're much obliged for your capable intervention.
She takes a slow breath. She shoots the young man a brief but stern glare. He pulls a knife from his belt and an apple from his pocket and sets to work. I was told this has to do with Durgan's battery.
What's in it, to be exact?
She folds the map in her hand with a quick and merciless pinch.
Stalwart isn't much more than a grease stain on a map. What roads we've got in the White March are basically tracks in the snow. And for every trader or adventurer that comes through, 3 of our own leave for good. But it weren't always so. There was a time when kings and queens sent their firstborn to these mountains, when the White March was the envy of empires.
Her eyes shine, and for an instant she looks like a much younger woman. How the mighty have fallen, says Aloth. What does this have to do with me?
The Pargrin dwarves transformed the White March once. We could bring some of that greatness back to Stalwart. But we need the White Forge.
She raises the map and taps a spot in the middle of a white and grey expanse. Apparently my character knows about it. I know
Then
it.
you'll know that no one's felt as much as a summery breeze from the White Forge for over 200 years.
She smooths the creased map.
I'm hoping you can do something about that.
How so?
We've been trying to breach Durgan's battery for over a year now. Problem is, the other expeditions can't so much as dent the front door.
She rubs at her fatigued shadowed eyes. Tell me about these other expeditions.
A dozen different groups have come through at our request, and several more besides. Been hoping that one of them could clear the way through Durgan's battery. But young or old, green or seasoned, it don't seem to matter. They cast their spells, chisel at the door, and search the grounds until they've worn new treads into the old stone. The lucky ones eventually go home. Plenty more find themselves on the wrong side of a blizzard, or an ogre raiding party.
Why the sudden interest in the White Forge?
We're an old mining town. Or we were until the Adirans pulled out and left us with a half-dug mineshaft and something resembling an inn.
She thumps the sturdy wooden wall with her fist.
Since then, it's been a steady decline. You've seen the roads. Isn't much we can produce that the Valians can't ship cheaper.
Is what we do.
But the White Forge... well, if we could fire it up again and start producing Durgan steel, or something close to it, wouldn't matter if we're in the White March or the Living Lands. Business would come.
She folds her arms and gives you a stiff nod. The young man says nothing, but he tosses a sliver of the apple peel into the fireplace. And that's why you need my help.
That's the long and short of it. We're laborers and fisherfolk, not adventurers. But Durgan steel could put Stalwart on the map again, open up the mines, bring in new business. We just need the White Forge.
She thumps the desk with her fist. Why is Durgan steel so special?
Because you can shave stone with it, cleave cast iron in two, and the stuff's as rare as it is remarkable.
That's just steel. In her enthusiasm, Renengild shifts on the balls of her feet. She props one bent arm on the other, pointing distractedly toward the eaves of the house. Steel is steel. It may be light and it may take an edge well. But per Complanca, the legends grow with each passing year.
If we could make something even half as good, we'd have a market at our doorstep and work enough for all of Stalwart.
For a split second, her gaze flickers to Aldrich. How is it none's gotten into Durgan's battery yet?
Where should I start? Ogres, blizzards, or sheer damned inaccessibility?
She ticks the items off on her fingers.
It ain't for lack of trying, I'll tell you that much. Got untold riches in Durgan steel lying just inside, and never mind the White Forge itself. The Adirans who first settled Stalwart tried to crack it. So did the Valians, and every other cocky adventurer with more metal than sense.
She folds her arms, shaking her head at a pitted floor.
But the place has a funny way of sealing itself up. Front door stays shut, the tower entrances are clogged with rubble, and it's been impossible to blast a way in.
Renengild trails off, and for a moment the room is silent but for the popping and crackling of the fire. So this interiors kind of interest me. Especially wood textures and stuff. What happened to Durgan's battery?
It don't bear dwelling on. There's too many superstitions about that place as it is.
She waves her mangled hand in a broad crescent, averting her gaze.
Killed each other off. Or so the old books say.
He glares at Renengild through hooded
Plenty
eyes.
of tales to go around, but none of them open the battery. And the last thing people need is another reason to fear the place. Whatever it was, the other Pargrin dwarven settlements in the White March, Bone Picker, the Hawk, and the rest, emptied out not long after, moved to gentler, greener lands.
Had the right idea, if you ask me.
I don't see why you need the White Forge to make good steel.
Finally, someone talking sense.
He raises his knife and a half-peeled apple to the fire in a dramatic gesture of exasperation.
Durgan steel wasn't just good. It was some of the best. We need the best if we're going to keep Stalwart alive.
She glares at Aldrich even while she speaks to you.
No one alive today has seen the White Forge, but the old stories tell that it was powerful, glowed white-hot, and gave off a steady, even heat, unlike any other furnace. Let better-schooled folk puzzle over how the thing was built. I just want to see it put to use.
Tell me about the Pargrin dwarves.
Pargrin's a word in their language. Means traveler. They've been wanderers for generations, but I couldn't tell you much more.
Any idea where I should
the battery's
begin?
up the mountain to the north. A good hike away.
She jerks her head in the direction of the slope behind the house.
Near Galvino's place, huh?
Aldrich says in a breezy tone, but Renengild falls suddenly silent. Consternation hardening the lines of her face. He smiles and draws his knife across the apple again.
So it is. Though I was going to suggest dealing with that ogre camp before anything.
She compresses her thin lips into a frown. Who's Galvino?
Mestre Galvino, as the old crosspatch prefers it, lives by himself and keeps the wilder and beasts at bay through sheer foulness of his temper.
She means to say he's a skilled smith and animancer, who's lived in the shadow of Durgan's battery for over a decade.
He looks over his shoulder at you and Renengild. And by Animancy's flimsy standards, that makes him an expert, does it? He folds his arms.
And he butters his bread on both sides and fits his left shoe before his right. But that's neither here nor there.
She crosses her arms and crumples the page in one tightening fist. Seems odd that he lives out in the wilderness by himself.
Not doing much worse than any of us.
Aldrich speaks to you, but his eyes are fixed on Renengild in sullen mischief.
He wore out his welcome and stalwart. He's better off with ogres and Lagufoth as his neighbors now.
What happened with Galvino?
The lunatic finally went too far. And we sent word to the Valiant Academies. I don't like speaking on it, but if you want to get his guff, just remind him that we gave him the boot.
I see.
Ain't nobody here fond of the man, but he's a clever hand and a quick study. It's a fool who thinks he stayed so close to the battery without figuring something about it.
You said as much to the last party, and we haven't seen hide nor hair of him since. Maybe they didn't run afoul of Baragon's ogres after all.
He raises a grey eyebrow at him. Aldrich shrugs and turns back to the fire.
Just watch your step. Galvino's place is a ways east of the battery, and folk who pass it bring unsettling tales.
Tell me about the ogre camp.
Belongs to Flames that whisper. Matron Baragon's clan. Hunters tell me they've been active of late.
Hunting elk and otherwise minding their own damn business.
He pops an apple wedge into his mouth and chews it aggressively.
Minding their own business. Never mind the latest expedition's disappearance or the broken stockade.
She pinches the bridge of her nose, squinting.
I'm saying we shouldn't agitate him further.
He makes to toss another slice of peel into the fire, but he fumbles and drops his knife. He bends to pick it up, cursing. What does this matron have to do with anything?
The brawl outside was just the latest patch of trouble. The ogre clans are getting bolder, and we'll all sleep easier knowing they aren't circling our walls. Also, Baragons like to have whatever the last expedition found. Rumor has it they disappeared near her turf.
She crosses her arms and looks over to Aldrich.
Killing a matron will only make our problems worse. The way to approach Baragon is with your hands held high.
If anyone could parley with an ogre, I suppose it'd be you. But they aren't known for their patience with prattle.
Got it.
Good. Before you leave town, stop by the Grave's Rest. Most visitors to Stalwart spend some time there, so Hafric and his patrons may be able to give you the lay of the land.
Don't know about you, but I'm parched all of a sudden. Doke.
I'm here.
Ugh.
Been looking everywhere for you.
Absolutely.
Why? The man is sweating despite the cold. He opens his mouth to speak, but all that comes out is a loud hacking cough. He bends forward, bracing his hands on his thighs while he heaves and gasps. After a lengthy duration, he raises a finger, still panting. All Hafric's fault. Damn fool sent me to the other side of town, looking for you. At last he stands again. He wipes his dripping brow with the back of his hand, and then offers the hand to you in greetings. Shake his hand. Pleasure to meet you. I'm the captain of the militia around here. What's this about? I wanted to catch you before you went running off into the wilds. See, there's a few dangerous folk you might be on the lookout for. Plus, if you're heading out to Longwatch Falls, I thought you could pick up a thermal pearl for me. He looks away and twists the toe of his boot into the snow. You want me to find a thermal pearl for you? That's the thing, I already found it. I just need someone else to go out and get it. Fought in the hot springs up near Longwatch Falls. Would have grabbed it myself, but that's when I looked around and saw the Lagufath. Must have been 50 of them. He spreads his arms wide. I would have fought, but I started to wonder what the rest of Stalwart would do without me, so I ran. For the sake of the village, of course. What's a thermal pearl anyway? They form in the hot springs, something to do with all the minerals in the water. Smell kinda funny, but they're full of minerals, just have to crumble them into a pint. He grins and you notice that his gums are bleeding. They cure scurvy. Like I said, the pearl's in one of the thermal pools near Longwatch Falls. Shouldn't be hard to spot. How the hell do you get scurvy out here? Are you eating crackers? Tell me more about Longwatch Falls. It's east of Stalwart. Got some nice views of the valley, but most folk avoid it these days. Plenty of wilder nearby, and it only takes a few inches of snow to block the pass. If you're heading out that way, I suggest talking to Thirsk. He might have something to help you deal with the Lagufath. That's all I needed to know. Stop by Thirsk's place before you leave town. This is the house next to the mines. He's a veteran hunter who knows the wilds better than anyone. You said something about dangerous folk in the wilderness. We get our share of crazies out here. Most of them aren't even from the village. He laughs at his own joke. Latest groups I'd heard were the Gleaming Society and the Sisterhood of the Slaked Skull. But Renengild set aside some bounty money to see that these troublemakers were taken care of. You bring me the heads of their leaders and I'll give you the payment. I want to know about the Gleaming Society. Crazy pack of radicals who wants to topple governments and kill the wealthy. Makes the War of Defiance look like a food fight. Duke Avar and the regents of Red Cerus both declared them illegal, which is probably the only thing those two would agree on. Or would have before all that murder and mayhem in Defiance Bay. He frowns, scratching the back of his neck. Anyway, check Longwatch Falls to the east. That's where they were last seen. Who leads the Sisterhood of the Slaked Skull? That'll be Metzala. All of the members of the Sisterhood worship Bereth. By sending as many folk back to the wheel as they can, he shivers. They've been poking around Durgan's battery and Whale only knows why. But you can understand why no one around here was pleased to hear about it. Passed through town recently. Didn't stay long, but they stopped at the Temple of Ondra. You might see if Lofta knows something. If you come across them, be careful. They're unpredictable. Let's talk about something else. Fuck off. Holy shit.
Say what you want about Dear Woodens. They haven't met the problem yet they couldn't solve by killing some scapegoats.
He flashes a hollow smile. You fight for people because you see something there that deserves defending. Even more so because someone you trust sees it too. Then you turn around and they do something like this, and the person who made you want to help them is gone. People never fail to disappoint without guidance. Not the ones around here. They're downright regular about it. 15 years ago they tried to kill all the Eothasians. Even then the legacy happens and they worry that maybe those purges had something to do with it. So how do they fix it? More purges. Never thought I'd find myself missing the hospitality back home.
Don't see the harm. Building's thirsty work.
I dread discovering what passes for cuisine in this place.
Salted meat. Pretty good.
Owena! Go check on that Orlin. Make sure he don't steal nothing. Never seen such a bloodbath. Feels like we got half the town's survivors in here, just drinking to forget it.
The dwarf surveys the crowd, his expression sober despite the half-empty flagon by his hand. He shakes his head and looks to you, remembering himself.
But you must be looking for some refreshment, too, after the way you handled them ogres. Or perhaps a room. Say the word, and I'll give that shifty little Orlan the boot.
He nods at you with gruff camaraderie. I'd like a room.
Quality bear pelts on every bed. You won't be disappointed.
2 dexterity, 2 might, 2 constitution. Half asleep, a tide of deafening whispers assails you, chipping away at your senses, at your mind's understanding of itself. Their roar is louder with each passing night, their attacks more brazen, less confined to your subconscious. A familiar voice fights its way through the din, calling out to you.
Hey! Hey! You gotta stop it with that. I just about punched you to snap you out of it. You were saying things, but they weren't any words I ever heard. You were shaking so hard I thought you'd crack your spine.
What happened to the bucket of cold water? Edir shrugs and looks away, concealing his smile poorly. What would I do without a friend to punch me?
Nice to feel needed. I'd have woke you sooner, but I thought it'd be nice for you to be able to close your eyes a bit. Folks don't last long without sleep. You're twitchy these days. Reminds me of Meyerwald more than I'd like. Anything I can do, you just let me know. We're close on this one. Hang on a little longer. We'll get you fixed up.
I'm fine, dude. Don't worry. Ugh, but honestly, I think we're gonna call it early here today. I'm just too tired, and I just don't care enough about this expansion to really push it when I feel like shit. Because right now, it's literally just a fucking side mission. It has nothing to do with anything. Still, all we're doing here is going to some fucking forge to help them make iron again. So far, so I'm gonna do it, but I sure hope that they manage to tie it in somewhat. But for now, we'll stop there. I'm just gonna go get something to eat and lie down for a while. Got the Wu flu, probably. But we'll try to continue tomorrow. So, until then, thanks for hanging. See you later. Bye-bye.